Ever feel like just wrapping your head around websites requires, like, learning a whole new language?
It can definitely feel that way.
We're tackling that today, figuring out how to make your website brief actually work for you, even if all the tech jargon makes you want to, like, run for the hills.
It's a bit like trying to bake a cake, but you only tell the baker, I want it chocolatey.
Ooh, bad cake.
Yeah. Could be amazing, could be a total disaster.
And nobody wants a website disaster, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we're using this blog post by, now, Technology Systems, they're an Aussie web design agency. Their guide to website briefs is a little jargony, if we're being honest.
It's true.
But there's a lot of good stuff in there once you kind of dig through it.
Think of this deep dive as your shortcut. You know, bypassing all the headaches and getting right to the good stuff.
Yes, exactly. And they start strong with this analogy.
Yeah.
Your website brief is like a blueprint. And just like, you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, right?
Right. Imagine rocking up to a contractor and just being like, all right, I like exposed brick and natural light, and then just expecting them to like know where every wall and window goes.
Yes, chaos.
Total chaos.
Yeah, blueprint gives everyone clarity, right? Instead of just describing the vibe,
Yeah.
you're handing over like detailed instructions.
Yeah, and that's where those 3 magic words from the article come in. Clarity, efficiency, and focus. When you're clear about what you want, the designers can work efficiently. Everyone's focused on that same goal. There's less back and forth. There are fewer revisions. And usually, what does that mean?
It means more money staying in your pocket. Instead of being poured into endless tweaks, music to any business owner's ears. So they break the briefing process down into 11 steps. Don't worry, we're not going to go through all 11.
We'll spare you.
Yes, we'll give you the condensed version. Let's hit the highlights. First up, they talk about defining your objectives. And I feel like this is where things get kind of interesting.
Yeah, most people start with very vague goals. I want more sales. I want people to know my brand. All great starting points, but they're not concrete enough for a website brief.
It's like saying you want to be fit, right? It's like, okay, cool, but what does that actually look like?
A marathon runner and like a yogi have very different ideas of what fitness is.
Exactly. And your website designer is going to be like, what does more sales even mean?
The article really stresses the importance of what they call SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Ooh, I like it.
So instead of just saying increase sales, you would say something like,
give me an example, because now I need to know.
let's say, increase online sales from customers aged 25 to 35 by 15% over the next quarter, primarily through targeted social media campaigns.
Now, that is something a web designer can work with.
Exactly. They can take all that information and use it to guide their design choices, from the layout to the features that they decide to prioritize.
So clear objectives equal a clear path to success. Speaking of clarity, step 2 is all about describing your business. So like beyond the basic About Us page.
Think about context. What problem does your business actually solve? Who are your competitors? And what makes you different? What's your unique selling proposition? You got to give the web designers the inside scoop on your industry, your brand, your values, all that good stuff.
So the more they understand your brand, the better they can translate that into a really compelling online experience, right?
100%.
Well,
And that very naturally leads into the next crucial element, your target audience. And now Technology Systems, being Aussie-based, really emphasizes the importance of knowing your local market.
yes. They even call out how thongs mean something totally different down under, which, side note, could make for a very confusing website experience if you're not careful.
That's a hilarious but very important point. It's about really understanding the nuances of who you're talking to. What are their demographics? What are their interests? Their pain points? If you're targeting a specific region, you have to factor in local slang, cultural references even.
Even local SEO strategies.
See? You got it. Which conveniently is the next big thing the article digs into.
It's all coming together.
It is.
And it makes sense to tackle SEO early on, because I feel like people see SEO as this like mystical after the fact kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's much more effective and cost effective to kind of bake it in from day one.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't digital marketing wizards, break it down for me.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean to bake in SEO? Give me the SEO crash course, like explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay, so basically, search engines, think Google, they're like matchmakers, right? They want to connect people who are searching for specific things with the websites that offer those things.
Right.
So when you bake SEO in from the start, you're essentially making your website like irresistible to those matchmakers.
Okay, so how do we do that? Is it just like keywords sprinkled everywhere?
Keywords are definitely a big part of it. You got to think about what people are actually typing into Google when they're looking for businesses like yours.
Right.
Those are your golden nuggets. The article recommends like brainstorming a whole list of these target keywords to include in your brief.
So if I'm like a dog groomer in Melbourne, I wouldn't just say dog grooming. I'd say like best dog groomers Melbourne or puppy grooming near me, like that kind of thing.
Exactly. You're getting into the mind of your potential customer there. And it's not just about like stuffing those keywords into the text. It's about creating like genuinely helpful content that actually answers their questions and solves their problems.
So it's about being helpful, not just trying to like trick the system.
Precisely. Now, beyond keywords, you also want to think about your website structure. Like just like a library uses categories and shelves to organize all the books,
Right.
a well-structured website makes it easy for both search engines and humans to find what they're looking for.
So like clear navigation, logical headings, that kind of thing.
You got it. It all contributes to a positive user experience, which actually brings us to the next key element the article talks about, your brand identity.
Ooh, okay, so this is where we can ditch the spreadsheets and break out the mood boards.
Exactly. Your website is often the first impression someone has of your business, so it needs to really capture your brand. Are you playful? Are you approachable? Are you sleek and sophisticated?
Right, all right.
What kind of vibe are you going for? Do you use bold colors, muted tones, all that good stuff?
Yeah, the article actually suggests gathering visual inspiration, like websites you love, design elements that you're drawn to. It's kind of like putting together like a Pinterest board, but for your web designer.
Ooh, I love that. And don't be afraid to include examples of what you don't like. Sometimes seeing what not to do can be just as helpful.
Oh, for sure. Remember that website we talked about with the flashing GIFs and the neon green Comic Sans?
Oh my goodness.
Some design choices should just be banished to the digital dungeon, never to see the light of day. But moving on from design nightmares, the article also talks about getting specific about website features.
Yes. So this is where you really want to think about the functionality your site needs. Do you need e-commerce capabilities, a booking system? What about integrations with your social media or email marketing platforms?
It's thinking beyond just the way it looks, but how people will actually use the website.
Exactly. And while we're on the, more practical side of things, there's something else we shouldn't forget. Legal and regulatory compliance. Now, technology systems, being based in Australia, they touch upon this a bit in the article.
Right, because what flies in one country might not fly in another.
Exactly. It's so important to be aware of things like data privacy laws, accessibility standards, any, industry-specific regulations that might apply to your online presence.
It's like that saying, it's better to be safe than sorry, but like, especially when it comes to the legal stuff. And speaking of better safe than sorry, the article wraps up by talking about, like, setting a realistic timeline and budget.
Which, let's be honest, can feel like the least creative and most kind of nail-biting part of the whole process.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But I imagine that's where having this like super detailed brief really pays off, right?
Yeah.
If you're handing over this really clear roadmap from the get-go, it's less likely for things to like go off the rails and then your costs spiral.
Exactly. When everyone's working from the same really detailed blueprint, there are fewer surprises, fewer revisions, which usually means you're more likely to stay on budget and on schedule.
It's the music to everyone's ears.
Oh.
But I guess like even the best laid plans need a little TLC. And, now Technology Systems being a web design agency themselves, they slip in a little reminder about ongoing maintenance and updates.
It's true, and it's something a lot of people don't even consider upfront. They think, okay, cool, website's launched, we're done. But, the digital world never stands still.
It's like that saying, like, a website is never finished, only abandoned.
Ouch. Yeah. It's true, though. Your website's almost more like a garden. You need to give it that regular tending, to help it stay healthy, stay thriving, fresh content, updated features, maybe even, a whole redesign later down the line.
So you're saying even after, launch day, my website journey isn't over. It's more like the end of the first chapter.
Exactly. And that well-crafted website brief that we talked about, that's what sets you up for a good page turner.
Love it. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from the why of a website brief to the really nitty-gritty what. But now you're armed and ready to actually tackle your own.
Yes. Remember, a website that really, truly reflects your business and resonates with your audience, that's an investment. A little bit of planning up front makes all the difference in the world.
Couldn't agree more. So as you head back to your spreadsheets and your mood boards, here's a final thought. What's one thing from this deep dive that'll make your website brief stand out from the crowd? Keep that in mind, and I think you'll be well on your way to digital success.